I'll repeat the question. The woman representing ecumenical Christian groups says I've done violence to her, and I've done violence to her Jesus by speaking in my belief of Jesus. Now, we have a really crucial question at this point. In the face of a civil society where we disagree this passionately, is there the ability to speak something different without saying you're being violent by speaking something different? And I am not violating anybody. In fact, I've said earlier, I would risk my life to protect anybody, homosexual, straight, or otherwise, if their life, liberty, or property were violated. That's the opposite of violence. I'm being told I'm violating because I'm exercising free speech. Also, for you to ask a valid question in this regard, you need to show me where Jesus supports homosexuality. The Bible.
Jesus says the greatest commandment is to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. That is what
He also came to fulfill the law of Moses, right? And he said, I've come to fulfill the law of Moses, which says no to homosexuality. He said he came to fulfill the order of creation in terms of marriage as one man and one woman. The reason homosexuality was not addressed, and he didn't address sorcery, sacred prostitution, or child sacrifice, the three cardinal sins for which the Jews were judged in 586. He didn't address those because those weren't the issues in 30 AD. He mentioned the word porneia for pornography, which refers to homosexuality in Greek literature. And in the book of Revelation, he talks about male homosexual prostitutes. In the Gospels, he doesn't use the word explicitly. But what you've got to do is you've got to show me the positive basis for same-sex in the order of creation and how Jesus affirms it. So maybe I do violence to your Jesus, but my question is your Jesus the Jesus of the Bible or some other Jesus?
I'm a Smith College student. I'm also a lesbian Christian, and I really love that part of me. And my biggest question for you is, we have lots of these promiscuous gay people out there with children, and there are these non-committed relationships, which I don't think non-committed relationships can have children just as much as you do. But they have nowhere else to turn. If they get quote-unquote divorced, what happens to the kids? What then? Because then the kids are scandalous and absolutely have nothing left. And I was reading these things about how gay parents don't produce the same kind of quality children. One of my friends had two mothers. He was number one in my graduating class. One of the top high schools in the nation. He was the valedictorian, and he's in the University of Chicago now. And what can you say about that?
Thank you. I am not going to, let's make this positive. I'm arguing that the healthiest basis is for a child to have mom and dad who love each other and love the child. There are many heterosexual arrangements which do not honor that and which hurt people, okay? And there could be some same-sex couples who do better jobs than heterosexual couples. That I won't disagree with either. But what I am talking about, I'm talking about what is the optimum, what is the best, and do we change the entire laws of the nation based on ex post facto trying to take care of some children that people had. See, a woman and a woman cannot have a child, nor a man and a man. There has to be a surrogate mother or an in vitro fertilization somewhere along the line. So, for example, how do you answer a boy or a girl growing up with two women, understanding to have two mothers? And I had a long conversation with such a young man not long ago when he says, "Where's Daddy?" Now, up in Ontario, Canada, there are two lesbians who had a child by a sperm donor, and now the sperm donor is suing for parental rights. And so Ontario now has tri-parentage. Well, what happens when we move outside of man and woman in marriage? So, as best I can, I'm arguing the positive of man and woman faithfully in marriage, recognizing a lot of heterosexuals don't meet up to that, but aiming for that. I believe once you move into same-sex, I argued earlier, I think same-sex marriage is non-diversity. It's monolithic. True diversity that serves unity is male and female submitting one to another as equals and complements in marriage.
Can I jump in for 1 second? 1 second?
Sure.
People in the business of understanding and protecting children report the following, that the children raised by same-sex couples are normal on every measure, and they do just as well as those raised by two heterosexual parents. This comes from the American Academy of Pediatricians, the American Psychological Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the National Association of Social Workers. It is unanimous. I know there's a lot of fear about gay people and children that is old and ancient, and we feel it in our bones, but it's simply not true. And people who are in the business of studying this issue are very comfortable with it. They know about it. They have watched it. And this is not an issue. It's a scare tactic. And I feel awfully bad when I hear things like this for the children of gay parents who listen to this, because it's terribly hurtful to them.
I've read those studies. I've read those studies, and not one of them compares the children of a same-sex couple with children of healthily married men and women. They're compared to single children and to children of single parents. And the truth is that once you move outside of a husband and wife loving each other, then the well-being of the children goes down. So the science is bad science, and I'm glad to go through all the data with you, Amy, on that one.
We won't do that here. My question is there anything short of marriage that you think that same-sex couples who want to make a commitment and want to be full citizens in some way, is there anything you'd give us that you'd be comfortable with?
This is our different philosophy about rights. You are saying that the government can define certain rights that automatically belong to people and that people should be able to claim them. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the unalienable rights upon which itemized civil rights are based come from God, and they are the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and property.
So I have to ask God.
Well, one second. No. I am saying that's the only historical source. And therefore, the thing you're owed by the government and you're owed by me as a neighbor is your life, liberty, and property are protected. Now, liberty carries with it great risk. You have the full liberty to win same-sex marriage, even if I disagree. And if you win, my ultimate citizenship is not on this planet. It's in the kingdom of God. But because I believe that it threatens unalienable rights and will hurt people, that is why I argue against same-sex marriage. And I also believe when it comes to you're saying that people hurt and suffer, there's no question about that. But I believe the greatest hurting and suffering is when we move outside of the complementarity of male and female in marriage and the trusting, caring relationship of children. So I will never disrespect or denigrate your person or your choices.
I think you just did.
By disagreeing with you?
No, and I mean, that's okay. I've spoken to
See,
a lot.
I've just said I will defend your unalienable rights of life, liberty, and property, even the risk of my own, okay?
Thank you.
Now, you have the liberty to defeat me politically, okay? But are you going to do it by the will of the people or by the mandate of the Supreme Judicial Court over and against the legislature and the people?
That's
So
that's a hard question, and I would like to answer that.
that's might makes right versus the consent of the governed.